All right. Good evening, everybody. I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Library Trustees for Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. Jenny? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Mary Ann, would you call the roll?
If you like. Galata. Here. Beechman.
Here.
Ward here. Hubbard here. Larson here. Russo.
Here.
Asano here.
Thank you, Mary Ann. And Jenny, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the fourth item on our agenda is comments from the audience. Would anyone here or online like to speak to the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 5. Would someone like to make a motion to approve or amend the agenda?
I move that we approve and amend the agenda. And amend? Didn't you say amend it?
Or amend.
Okay, Kath, start over. I move that we approve the agenda.
I think we need to amend the
Oh,
agenda, if that's okay.
Oh.
So,
Okay, so therefore I move that we amend the agenda.
okay. Okay.
We have
Well,
a
that
number
works.
2, yeah.
Well, we had a motion that was made on the committee of the whole new bylaws draft review discussion. And that was something that's just hanging out there now in motion to heaven. So it really needs to be added to this meeting.
I did ask if people wanted to postpone that until the May 20th
Yes,
meeting,
you did.
at your suggestion.
Well, I made the motion that we
Table
tabled it, and that never got seconded, and we never voted on that. And so it was put on the agenda that it was addressed, and then we had the discussion, and it just kind of died. And if something dies like that and we adjourn the meeting, then it has to go on the next scheduled meeting.
So you want to add an item to the agenda to,
Either to do something with it, because it's just out there, and like I said, in motion having something needs to be done about it. Either postpone it or address some of the issues.
and which was this one?
And there were some
Bylaws.
things since then.
Oh,
that
the
it's-
bylaws, good. Okay.
Right, that's what you're referring to as
The
the bylaws.
The bylaws,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you'd like to amend the agenda, adding a discussion between 5 and 6 to address the bylaws.
The bylaw draft review and discussion.
Okay.
You can put that anywhere.
You can put it after the financial policy, you know, after.
I just thought we'd get it
Oh,
done.
okay.
So where is it?
Which is
6
between
A.
5 and 6.
6A.
Between 5 and 6?
Yeah.
I vote 5A.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the agenda. Would someone like to second it?
I will second it.
So we have a motion by trustee Ford and a second by trustee Pisano. Any discussion?
Actually, I think Kathy made the motion.
Did you withdraw your,
I don't recall withdrawing. I felt like I said amend it, so does that cover her addition?
She made the first motion to amend the agenda.
okay. So
I did withdraw it.
a motion by you, by trustee Hubbard.
And
a second by
trustee
Fasano.
Fasano.
She just
Okay.
explained what she wanted. She
Okay.
didn't do any motion.
All right, I gotcha. All right, any discussion? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion is approved for an amended agenda. Okay, then Christie, number 6, the bylaws, the draft discussion, what would you,
Well, there are things that are coming up. I just kind of want to know what's happening in May. Are we going to have committees? Are we not going to have committees? because there were, in the draft bylaws, it was going from 4 to 2. And it was the finance committee and the facilities committee. So are we going from 4 to 2? Are we going to 4 to 0?
Well-
We're going to stay 4 to 4?
Right, so here's my recommendation. At the May meeting, we swear in the returning and new trustees, we do the election, and then once that president is in place, determine about the committees. And then,
And then you can amend the bylaws.
exactly,
So
and then
we
once we make that decision, we can amend the
Okay,
bylaws.
so we postpone this until the May.
We could start the discussion, yeah. I
You
don't
do
know.
it at the cow.
You could do it, you could start the discussion at the cow, yeah, and then, but it
In the
won't,
May cap?
yeah,
Okay. Or we can do it the June cap?
you could do it in June as well,
Okay.
yeah. But I think we want to address the bylaws no later than the June, approve them no later than the June meeting, so that you're starting this new term
And the fiscal year.
and the fiscal year with your new bylaws, because they're almost 20 years old.
You mentioned in one of your reports somewhere that I do not have in front of me, that you were sending them on to legal counsel to review because they are so out of date, whatever, and you would have them for our either May or June meeting.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, well, that's
That
what
makes
I'm
sense.
gonna propose, is that I take our existing bylaws, as well as that draft that I created, send them to our attorney and just say, we'd really like you to look over this and give us some feedback, suggestions, what are we really missing, what do we need to expand on, what is not necessary, and so then the attorney will give me that response by the May meeting, and we can then go over it at the June cow to finalize it for the June regular meeting.
Well, should we give him some direction on kind of things that we want that we can agree on? or-
Well, so the reason this came up, the idea of sending it to the attorney, was I had contacted him and it's like, should this work for a nominating committee? Because he says, what do your bylaws say? And I said, well, they're very vague. They just say, we have a nominating committee and they present a slate of officers at the April meeting. But it doesn't give you any other guidance or direction. So I think that's one area where we might want to get some recommendations from our attorney. I mean, it's really ultimately up to the board what they want their bylaws to say, but maybe we want to flush out the election process more.
I thought it was great on what we did, and I kind of am concerned with what an attorney, having just gone through it, and I thought it went very smoothly, that an attorney really can't say, oh, okay, do it this way, and
Well, he might say, you might want to flush this out because it's too vague, like our election process, that's all. I'm not asking him to rewrite them, but just give an overall feedback about.
And I even think before we review them, if he says, this is this section is outdated, there's these new laws that you have to, amend to or whatever, now the state requires X. We should know that before
Or
we review
redo
the
them.
bylaws.
Good idea.
And then also have him review after we do the bylaws, but I think knowing up front, hey, this section needs to change completely because of the change in state law versus this, we need to know that up front and not after.
And he will make recommendations, he won't say, this is what it has to say, but he'll say, this is what's frustrating sometimes when you're talking to your legal advisors. They say, well, and then they give you all these scenarios, but you still have to make the choice about.
Or
within the
even
law.
here, option A or option B
Yeah.
would fit this scenario, which do you prefer?
I mean, the more specific your bylaws, then the more tied you are to them, and there's no flexibility. So those are just things I think we need to discuss at a cow meeting and maybe go through the bylaws. I mean, this might be a time when a policy committee would be handy in having a special meeting, going through the bylaws section by section, and then presenting proposed changes to the committee of the whole, and then go to approve it at a regular meeting. That's another way you could do it. as I think these bylaws are gonna require a lot more discussion on the board's
Mhm.
part than any of our other policies really did, because these are so specific to you as a board.
Yeah, it's like Andrew said, it's gotta be a supermajority too, so. Would that be a 5-2 vote?
To approve the, you'd have, to yeah, it would have to be, well, it would be 4, as long as it's a majority, so.
It's a supermajority, it's a 2/3 vote.
Does it have to be a supermajority for the bylaws? Okay.
Okay, well then I
What's your
say,
timing suggestion?
yeah.
Good question.
Coordinating with him.
I would say, I think what I would like to do is, if we do have a policy committee meeting, that we do it sometime between now and the sometime between now and the June cow meeting. And then, because we got a lot going on in May with the architect and stuff. So sometime between now and the June cow, the policy committee meets and kind of goes through the bylaws with a fine tooth comb. And then at that June cow, we present what the policy committee worked on to the whole board for more discussion, feedback. And then the bylaws will be ready to go, hopefully, for the regular meeting in June to be approved. And this way also, Chris is part of the discussion as a new board member.
The policy committee is me, Jenny, Mary Ann.
So meeting next
So
week.
meeting after May 20th. Wait a minute, let's revise that schedule.
I mean, as the president, you can appoint whoever you want on the committee, but
They're already doing the
if
architect.
somebody else is interested in being part of that, we could have that substitute for Jane.
So ideally, the policy committee would meet in the next week or so,
No, sometime between now and the calendar June.
Yes.
now in
Yeah,
Yeah, after the May 7th architect stuff. Like, let's
Yeah,
get
yeah,
it
yeah.
out.
Okay, all right.
it could even be after the regular meeting in May, but
Yes.
before the June cow.
June. Okay. So,
You're letting her off way too easy.
to meet around the first week of June.
Does anybody have a calendar up?
Yes.
When is the cow meeting? Oh, when's the cow meeting?
June 5th, Thursday.
I would say, in our regular meeting's the 20th, so I would say.
Regular meeting is the 17th.
No, I mean,
May
May.
20th. Oh, May.
May
Let's go back to
20th, so sometime between May 20th and June 5th.
Which is.
I think it sooner after the regular meeting in May, so that we have time to, I'll have time to put in those changes and
It's
present a
garden
draft.
planting time.
Yeah, and Mary Ann won't be available. She'll be digging away.
Well, you can meet in the garden.
Yes, we could.
Okay, so we would pick a date between May 20th and June 5th.
Correct.
And by that time, we'll,
And Memorial
a
Day
replacement.
is probably right around there, so I mean, not that we would do it on a weekend, but everyone's going out of town.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we table this or postpone it until June 5th.
To discuss it at the cow.
Do we need to vote on that?
Sorry?
Do we need to vote on that?
It was just a discussion.
If that was just a discussion.
Yeah, it's not a noticed item on your agenda, so you can't take action.
No,
Okay.
That's what?
It's not a noticed item.
We can't make a
On the
motion,
agenda.
we just have
You can
the
talk about it,
discussion.
but
You
you
can
can't
talk.
vote on it, apparently.
But
Anything we make a motion on has to be on the agenda posted 48 hours in advance. Anything that's on the agenda that we make a motion on has to be on the agenda 48 hours in advance and revealed publicly so that the public can comment.
So you're just discussing it, and we're discussing that it's gonna be on the calendar.
Yeah, what our
So
plan of
there's no
action
motion
is.
needed.
okay? Any other discussion on that? Moving on, number 6. Would someone like to make a motion to approve or amend the consent agenda?
I do.
And the consent agenda consists of the March 18th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes and the March 2025 financials. Christie?
Okay, on the March 18th meeting, I sent call to order trustee Larson. And if it's trustee Larson, usually Rousseau's not there. So were you there, were you not there?
I think that's an error,
Oh.
that
yeah,
it should be trustee
Russo.
Russo called
Okay.
it to order.
Okay.
And President Russ on page 2 just needs an O at the end of his name.
Where was that?
At the top of page 30.
Oh, I
The
see.
third
President
bullet.
Russ discussed the director. Okay. But you can approve the minutes as amended.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
The whole consent agenda.
Right?
We're approving the whole consent agenda as
Okay.
amended.
Then we have to make the motion to approve the consent agenda with the amendments of the March 18 regular board meeting.
So we have a motion by trustee Ford, a second?
Second.
A second by trustee Deachman. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We need a roll call because of the financials. So Mary Ann, would you call the roll?
Delata? Aye. Ishman?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Hubbard? Aye. Larson?
Aye.
Russo?
Aye.
Casal? Aye.
Opposed? And the amended consent agenda is approved. Number 7, approve the financial policy.
So at the COW meeting, there were a few areas in the proposed draft that the board wanted some to get, for clarification, et cetera. So on page 20 in the packet, the second page of the policy, the first paragraph under budget and finance, we've added, the Board of Trustees takes action to reduce the shortfall, and we've eliminated increase the library's revenue. Then on page 21 or 3 of the policy, the third paragraph down, the library seeks to maintain a year-end fund balance to ensure the revenue to fund balance ratio is at least 25%. I think we wanted to clarify what the meaning was in that sentence. Then on page 5 of the policy, 23 of your packet, this treasurer's audit, Dawn did some research, and it is not something that we have to require, so we took it out.
This it's not something what?
Sorry?
It's
You
not
said it,
required.
Well,
it's not required.
it's not required.
Okay.
Not be part of the library district,
Okay,
and it's, all the work seems to fall on the secretary.
okay.
So then, on page 7 of the policy, 25 of your packet, under exemptions from competitive bids, Don added the statute. Competitive bidding is subject to the exceptions described in 75, Then a little further down, under contracts for construction and remodeling, equipment for the library district are subject to the procedure set forth in the statute. So just clarify that. And I think, that was that was the last change.
But nobody would do.
Are you gonna go back and reword the, under the fund balance, the one that's a little nebulous?
Which one, where are you?
I'm on page 21,
Okay,
and the wording is a bit awkward.
which one?
The library seeks
under
to-
fund balances?
Yes, okay, so, I mean, if we can wordsmith that.
Okay. Which sentence?
The library seeks to maintain a year-end fund balance to ensure the revenue to fund balance
Ratio.
ratio.
Yeah,
That's a lot of fund balancing.
well, it's
That's
the,
what,
it's
that's
the
the
fund,
ratio.
it's the revenue to fund balance ratio. It's the
Okay.
ratio between those two.
Okay, right. Revenue ratio,
The library seeks to maintain a year-end fund balance to ensure the revenue to fund balance ratio is at least 25%. That's the new
okay,
wording.
I think that's the title of the ratio.
just the fund balance ratio?
Revenue to fund balance ratio, because your
Oh,
revenue is
really?
your numerator,
Right,
your fund balance is
Your
your
denominator.
denominator. So that's the ratio.
Got it.
But we previously just had revenue ratio, and it wasn't describing what the denominator was.
Got it.
It just hung out there.
Yes.
So, any other, did anyone see anything they want to address?
Very thorough.
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
it is. Nice job, Don.
Thank you, Donna.
Yeah.
If there's no other discussion, would someone like to make a motion to approve the financial policy?
I'll move to approve the financial policy.
I'll second.
A motion by trustee Colada and a second by trustee Larson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the financial policy is approved. Okay, moving on to number 8, new business, the nominating committee. Christie?
Okay. Mr. President Rousseau, the nominating committee met Monday, April 14th. The members of the nominating committee consisted of trustee Andrew Beechman, Catherine Hubbard, and myself, Christy Ford. Also in attendance were Josephine Tucci and Elizabeth Larson. The nominating committee elected a chairperson, which was myself, Christy Ford. The next order of business was to decide a slate of nominees for officers for the Board of Trustees of the Batavia Public Library. The election of the officers will be held May 20th, 2025. Mr. President Rousseau, the nominating committee submits the following nominations to hold a 2-year term starting May 20th, immediately following the election. President, Daniel Rousseau. For Vice President, Catherine Hubbard. For Secretary, Mary Ann Fasano. For Treasurer, Elizabeth Larson. Signed, Christy Ford.
Thank you, Christie. And thank you to everybody who served on the committee.
How we're gonna vote?
Oh, we are going to have, we decided at the meeting last night to have a ballot. The ballot will contain the names of these nominees. There will also be extra spaces for additional nominees. That will happen at the May 9th meeting, or May 20th meeting. And there will also be space for writing candidates if they want it. We will have individual ballots for each office. We will vote on the one office at a time. That way, if somebody gets nominated and they aren't elected, they can jump to another office and run for that one. So we will have 3 people, I imagine in my head, 3 people who will tally the votes. And that's about it.
So I'll prepare the ballots for the May 20th.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Christie? Thank you for formalizing that for us. All right, number 9, President's Report, but first of all, does anyone on the board have an announcement to share?
Actually, I'll start that. We did receive 3 nominations for the Library Leader Award. I have all 3 of them here. As we have previously done the Library Leader Award, the Outreach Committee is the one that sits and decides on a finalist and presents it to the board. That Outreach Committee is chaired by me and is Kathy and Mary Ann, so I will send you guys an email. I know, I verified. So I will send you guys an email that we can find a date that works best for the 3 of us and Joe to go through, and I will make copies and send you copies of the nominating forms before the meeting today.
Yes.
And just remember, we have to have that 48 hours to post it.
Yes, we do have to have 48 hours notice to post, because it is still an open meeting.
We can meet in the garden.
It's still an open meeting.
It's still an
The
open
3 of you
meeting.
meet, it's an open meeting.
That's
Yes.
okay, they can come.
So I will email you guys, we will decide what works best for us and Joe. We will make sure agenda is posted. Any other trustee is welcome to come to the meeting, but that's the committee.
Can I ask, is there a timeline for when you have to pick someone? Because the
Yes.
celebration or
The celebration-
event is in September.
Correct.
Excuse me.
So we do usually choose it by beginning of summer, so that way we can work with the winner to determine the best date that they can also attend for the
Okay.
ceremony,
So you want to meet sometime in May? For
Correct.
sure. Okay.
So, thank you. for announcing all that, and how wonderful to have 3 nominees who have been nominated for the Library Leader Award. And it will be a nice celebration in September. Okay, other comments from the board?
The Friends met, and I just want to remind everybody, they're having their annual brunch on April 26th at 11 o'clock. Lisa will be the guest keynote speaker.
I need
There she is. Will not be boring, as always, she's very entertaining. April sales, Wednesday night sale was $552, the Saturday sale was $653, bringing the total for $42,431 for their bank balance. But we have an adult teen and summer reading program that Megan requested money for, that's $2,000. And youth services requested $1,000, some really fun things, and I think Lisa will talk about later. So we're still around 40,000. And there's one item, and I don't know if this is the time to bring it up, that I would like to see on the future agenda item. There was mention about the emergency doors opening up in youth services, and I really think that is a decision for the board. I think there were red flags going up for 3 of us immediately, so I think we need to talk about that and make a decision on that in the future meeting.
I made a note of that, and thank you for the report from Friends. It's nice to know what they're doing and that they're having such good success.
If all trustees are invited for the April 26th annual brunch, Saturday. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Then, for my president's report, I just want to share a part of a letter from Alexi Janulius. And Alexi Janulius is the Secretary of State, and he's also the state librarian. And one of the items in the news has been the elimination of the Institute of Museum and Library Services. And so he wrote to talk about how that will impact Illinois. So Alexi Janulius in his letter says that of the $108 million that the IMLS's Grants to States program provides to state libraries, the Illinois State Library receives $5.7 million in the fiscal year 2025, the 6th highest amount of any state. These funds help sustain the operations of all public, school, academic, and special libraries, and provides essential program funding in targeted areas, particularly underserved areas of the state. And then he highlights some of the areas that funding goes to. And $2.5 million is allotted to the Illinois Heartland and Reaching Across Illinois Library Systems, RAILS, under the System Area and Per Capita Grant Program. The funding is specifically targeted to facilitate delivery of books and library materials to support interlibrary loan services. Last year, 11 million items were transferred among more than 1,700 public, school, academic, and special libraries in Illinois, which has one of the largest interlibrary sharing programs in the nation. This program is critical to supporting libraries that are dependent on borrowing materials from districts with larger collections and more financial resources. He goes on to list that $108 million goes for a subscription to OCLC's WorldCat Discovery First Search Services. More than 1,000 libraries in Illinois use OCLC services to support their cataloging, interlibrary loan program, and information needs. During fiscal year 2024, Illinois libraries conducted nearly 1 million citation searches to serve their library patrons and to support their library operations. He goes on to mention that $100,000 goes to the Illinois Libraries Presents initiative, which allows over 200 public libraries to afford high-quality online programming for their patrons that would be cost prohibitive for single libraries to provide on their own. He highlights then that grant funds also go to individual libraries, workforce development, state library operations and programs. And he ends by saying, libraries and library administrators must make their governing bodies aware of this situation. Public library trustees, school board members, academic trustees, and even corporate offices of our special libraries must fully understand the potential impact on IMLS services to libraries, their patrons, and their communities. Library leadership must work to ensure that these essential services are sustained for the communities they serve. Make no mistake, stripping these vital resources threatens the sustainability of libraries and amounts to a disinvestment in educated and informed society. As state librarian, my administration is committed to doing everything possible to protect these essential agencies and prevent any efforts to dismantle and defund them. The importance of our libraries, librarians, and library workers extends far beyond the bookshelf. You play an indispensable role in the communities you serve, fostering lifelong learning and offering invaluable resources despite these challenging times. You will always have my support. Sincerely, Alexi Janulius, Secretary of State and State Librarian. So I just wanted to share that with you tonight. Moving on. Number 10, directors and librarians reports.
Before I go into the strategic plan update, I'll just talk about the other things in my report. In terms of donations, we have a $100 donation from Kathy Hubbard, and I believe was it a other party?
It's in honor of.
It's in honor of Lucy Anderson.
Lucy Anderson, yes.
And so thank you very much for that. And then we have some staff updates. We have a new library page, Jillian Bonus. And we had a lot of anniversaries in April. Michael Mollahan in our circulation department has worked here for 33 years.
Wow.
Stephanie DeYoung in tech services has been here 7 years. Misty Jump, adult and teen services, 11 years. Mary Podrasky is one of our newer employees. She's an associate in the YS department. She's completed 1 year. Melissa Cunningham in youth services, 2 years. Anna Dunson, circulation, 2 years. Amanda Vanderwerf in youth services, 9 years. Abby Murphy, adult and teen services, 1 year. Roseanne is one of our librarians in the adult and teen department, 21 years. Nance Barnett O'Neill in tech services has been here 10 years. Mark Giano, I don't know, I'm gonna spell his name. Mark in circulation, who is our go-to shifter in the stacks, has been here 3 years. And then Don, our HR and finance guru, is completed his 1 year. Hard to believe, it's going very fast. Later in the meeting, we're gonna go in closed session to talk about my annual review. And let's see, but now we'll go over the highlights of strategic plan progress on pages 2 and 3 in your packet. So as always, we're really busy, and this is not a completely comprehensive list of everything that we do that addresses our strategic plan, but here are some highlights. So, and this is across departments. If it's specific to a department, then I will say so in the description. We did a lot of work on the engaging our community. 1.1, develop and encourage more partnerships. First chapter Friday at Mooseheart, so that's a partnership with Mooseheart that we have. And then literacy night at HC Storm with the Batavia Public School District 101. Think Natural, Live Sustainable. They presented a From Container to Garden program. And then we also were working with the Batavia Historical Society, hosting a musical program, and Adult and Teen Services acquired sponsorships from 15 local businesses for summer reading program. Are you going to talk about that later?
I can, I didn't have.
Because I think we
anything
should
to
do a shout out to our Miss Misty, because she went out there on foot and got all these sponsorships herself. It was very impressive. Now 1.2, prioritize innovative, inclusive, and responsive programs and services. We had our One Book, One Batavia kickoff event for all ages a week or two ago. We had the YS hosted late night at the library for grades 3 through 5 on March 14th. And Circulation launched our first online library card registration service, which you can access through our website. And let's see, and expanding communications. Adult and Teen Services created a new program calendar for patrons to use when they are in the building and want to see what's happening in that department. I met with Megan, Kristen, Z, and Liesel on the 26th to strategize our marketing priorities and assign our roles for ongoing communication initiatives. And in response to this community survey from our strategic planning, Circulation Services promoted the library's book club service managed by the Interlibrary Loan Circulation Department. There was an article about this in the King County Chronicle, and they created these two-sided bookmarks. Hans Kaiser designed them to be distributed at all 3 public service desks. Then for the second strategic plan initiative, provide excellent user experiences. We optimized function and comfort of our library spaces by adding browsing and seating by the new Hot Picks collection, which is flying off the shelves. We made progress on converting the computer lab into a maker zone space by taking most of the public computers out and then putting this new maker equipment in that room. We improved library accessibility by creating a more prominent display for new materials in the YS department. So they used to be along that curved wall where the windows are on these low bookshelves, and now they're front and center. When you first walk down there, new books are right there. Nurture a positive and collaborative culture. We promote collaboration and positive team dynamics. We developed a new programming committee that is made up of staff from mostly YS, ATS, and promotional services. So it's Jolene, Mary Podrasky, Mallory, and Kirsten Schultz, and then the 2 department heads, Megan and Lisa, and myself. And I think we have Kristen in there too, Kristen Z, or no? No, okay. And we're aiming to improve communication, collaboration, and planning library programs moving forward. And the circulation service assistants and specialists now receive backup support, so they've had some training within their department so that not just one person knows how to do certain tasks, they have backup for if they're out sick or on vacation or what have you, or just get piled up with work. Online library card registration team included circulation, technical services, IT, and promotional services to make that happen.
Great.
And many staff members from circulation provided support to adult and teen services and youth services with our reading projects and collection shifting projects. So a lot of collaboration across departments going on. Staff development, Allison Wise did a webinar for story times. All staff did the required bloodborne pathogen training. Melissa Cunningham did an online training for storytime behavior management. 5 circulation staff attended the Reaching Forward North Conference on May 1st. And that we did cross-training between circulation ATS and YS to cover each other's service desks when the need arises. And then, so there's a list here of like ongoing resources that the circulation department uses for training just throughout the year. And these are the different resources that they use: Niche Academy, Web Junction, Xywave and IPBC Employee Assistance Program, Rails, Circe Dynex, L2 Calendar of Training Events, Swan Tutorials, and Laconia Training Opportunities. These are all, they just provide a plethora of training resources on anything from customer service to dealing with difficult conversations to more technical stuff to do with the catalog, etc. So lots of options there. So that's my update on the strategic plan. Now, on page 6 of your packet is March stats. And in terms of circulation use, everything is up from the year from this month a year ago. Yes. Including our reciprocal borrowing. In fact, Messenger, North Aurora,
That's
our reciprocal borrowing went up 51%. That's crazy. And it's a big increase just in general when you compare year-to-date from 2024 to 2025. There's huge increases there. And then we had 121 library cards added.
Wow.
And in March, we did a total of 78 programs, which includes passive and active programming, with a total of 2,430 people attending or participating in these programs during the month of March. What else? In terms of social media, our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok followers from this time last year has gone up 9% in Facebook. So we went from 3,743 followers to currently we have 4,081. And then in Instagram, we went from 2,034 to 2,314. That's a 14% increase. And our TikTok followers, even though we're not actively posting on TikTok, because I think we're still waiting to see what its fate is, but we increased by over 400 followers since last year. So that's a highlight of our stats. And then for our working budget on page 7, for our year-to-date budget for fiscal year 25, we're pretty much where we need to be. We're anywhere between 60 and 70% of the spent on our budget, which is just where you want to be at that time for March. Overall, for our total operating fund, we have spent 68% of our budget for fiscal year 25. So that April, May, June, with 3 months to go. So that's good. Let's see. I'm sorry, those are our operating expenses. Our total library fund, we're at 64%. So that includes all of our materials, programs, the operating expenses, just our general fund. Then in the special funds, we've spent about 73%, which is fine. We have currently 5 million, oh God, I'm terrible at these big numbers because I don't see them very often, $5,034,098 in our special reserve fund.
Actually, that's the beginning.
I'm sorry, 5,000,
5.2.
yes, I'm sorry, that was the
5,000.
beginning balance. It's $5,207,061 in special reserves at the end of March. We anticipate about $1 million for our roof project, but we also anticipate, I believe, is it still 1.2 million we hope to transfer by the end of the fiscal year?
Probably more like 1.3.
Well, just keeps getting better and better, Don. Yeah, so we hope to transfer 1.3 into special reserves at the end of the fiscal year for our remodeling project. Speaking of which, we've received 2 packets so far. The deadline is tomorrow at noon, so hopefully we'll still get some more that come in. So that's it for me, and now we can turn it over to Megan, ATS, Adult Teen Services.
So before I jump to March things here, I do want to, I'm happy to talk about our upcoming summer reading, both in terms of the coupons and partnerships Joe mentioned, and also Christy mentioned some of the prizes. So it'll be nice to give everyone a little preview. We're going to mix it up a little this year because we're trying to really grow our participation for adult and teens. So we grew it last year by making it easier for people to collect prizes along the way instead of waiting to the end of summer. And we also added the raffle prizes, which were really popular. So we're going to keep that in place. But we're also going to change our prize structure up. So the first level prize, when people complete that first level, is going to be a coupon to a local business. And so Misty went out, I think one day in 3 hours, she came back with over 800 coupons committed from local businesses. And then she did the same thing another day in about 2 hours. So it was a very impressive showing. We have at least 15 businesses. I wish I had the list in front of me. I apologize for not being able to list them all off because we're very grateful to all of our new partners. But I think it might end up ultimately being a few more actually, because there's a few others that have not officially committed yet but seem interested. So we're very happy to be able to support the local business community, and also very grateful that our patrons will be able to earn all these amazing perks at different places around town. So that'll be our first prize. Then for the second and third prizes and the raffle prizes, that is where we're very grateful to the Friends for funding a lot of those options. So people will be able to choose between different little trinkets for prize levels 2 and 3, things like little notebooks that seemed very fancy, little flashlights, one of those like those drawstring bags, some lotions, face masks, you know, just a bunch of different options that people can choose from for their next prizes. We're also going to lower the threshold for what you have to agree to earn a prize, because for many people, reading 4 books in the summer is a lot, and that was, you had to do that to get any prize. So we want to really open it up and encourage people to be able to participate and not be so intimidated by saying, you have to read 4 books or you get nothing. Because that's hard for a lot of people, in 10 weeks especially. So we're going to change it so that for every book you read for the first 3 books, you get a guaranteed prize, and then you can keep going and get tickets for those great raffle prizes. The more you read, the more chances you get to win. So our big time readers will have a much higher chance of winning, but you could win with just 1 entry. So anybody could, it's a drawing. But we want to make it a lot more accessible. And then one of the other changes we're making is we're going to separate the adult and teen programs. They will fundamentally work the same, but finding prizes that are appealing to anyone from the age of 14 to 1 million is a challenge. So we're very happy to be able to get some things that might be really interesting to teens specifically, and then other things that work for adults. So we will definitely have the Batavia basket as one of the raffle prizes, because that was our biggest ticket item. People really love that. And we like being able to support local businesses by getting things. And often those businesses also donate some nice things for us. So we're excited for all of that. And I know we're going to have a kickoff on, is it May 31st?
Yes.
With, that's a joint program, you know, for all ages. We're going to have an Elvis performance from a nice young man who does 3 different phases of his career. There's, while he performs, he has little breaks. There's going to be a juggler, a face painter. We're going to have some snacks, some kind of crafts and music, so it should be a good time. So hopefully all of you will be able to come by, or at least tell all your friends and neighbors about it. I think it should be a good time. So we're excited for all of that coming up. So everybody get ready to read this summer. So speaking of reading, one of the things in March is also that we launched One Book, One Batavia, which has been a really long-running program. in town, but we made it a little more all ages this year by offering different levels. We had a kickoff event that I think taught us that maybe Friday night is not the night to do a kickoff. So we're gonna maybe try like a Sunday afternoon or something next year, but it was a really fun event for those who came, and it was a great collaboration across youth services and adult and teen services and promotional services to all bring it together. And actually we had some support from circulation services too to make sure we had the materials there. So it was a great collaboration, and the books are checking out at high levels. So we do think people are really excited and participating. We're gonna have a lot of World War II programs that connect to all those books happening throughout this month. Some have happened already, some are coming up. So that is off to a good start. We overall for programs, we had a lot of people participate again. We had 721 people come to 25 in-person programs. We had 186 people complete 4 passive programs. We had 41 people attend 2 virtual programs. And then we had 275 items go out to home delivery patrons during the 10 visits. Speaking of home delivery, one thing that we're very excited about as a staff is that we had a huge help from the circulation department, and Sherry in particular, to get all of our home delivery patrons their own library cards. We were functioning off of a system of using 1 card for every person who was using home delivery, which meant we had to individually track who had every single item and all of their holds requests and all of their reading preferences. And it was just a lot of manual work on our end, and it also limited patron access because they weren't able to place their own holds. So we will probably be still placing the bulk of the holds for people. We're happy to do that. But now those who want to can just place their own holds on their own cards. They can see what they have coming. They can see what is due in their, if they log into their accounts. So I think that'll be a huge benefit to both patrons and staff, because we don't have to have giant spreadsheets for every building we go to listing every single person and all of their items. So we are very grateful to Sherry's help on that one. We had the prom dress giveaway happen with a partnership with Chip In Batavia. There were 328 teens who participated, and over 800 dresses were given away. So that was off to another huge success, and that one was due in large part to the efforts of Kathy Moker and facilities being fantastic. It basically turns the whole place into its own one-day retail event. So we're excited to have that happen successfully again this year. We had a performance from the Batavia High School. Originally it was supposed to be their string theory group, and then it ended up switching into the chamber orchestra just based on student availability. But we had 48 people come and see a performance of 10 students. It was really popular. We loved featuring them. It was really nice. So we're definitely going to have more performances from local high school students again. It's just kind of fun to have them come to the library and be able to connect them to our community in another way. We had a lot of locally focused programs in March. 43 people came to the Unlock the Secrets of Batavia Forest Preserves. We had a hybrid program on the Underground Railroad in Kane County, Illinois that had 26 people come in person and 33 people attend virtually. And 21 people attended Exploring Northern Illinois in the Driftless area. So it was kind of nice to have such a strong local offering this month, and people seem to really gravitate towards it. So we're going to keep looking for those opportunities. As always, Books Between Bites, Sundays on Stage, and Inclusion Game Night remained popular. Each of those had over 50 people come in the month of March. And as Joe mentioned, our Hot Picks collection keeps staying really popular. We keep buying more and more things as fast as we can, and we still can't seem to keep the wall filled. So that tells us we're on the right track with people really looking for the new popular materials in higher volumes and being able to browse and enjoy the space in that way. So we're hoping to keep continuing the expansion of that. And through another generous donations with the Friends of the Library, we were able to add our sublimation printer and a large swingway heat press to the Maker Zone. So anyone who wants to print something on like a t-shirt or a tote bag, things like that, would be able to now come in, print their design, and apply it to something that they bring in to take home. So that is now available for patrons. You're going to start to see materials on the website for how to use it, and our staff will be able to help people as well. So we're really excited to have that available for people now too. Yes?
Let me ask a question. I'm sure this has been published somewhere and I somehow missed it. How are the books selected for One Book, One Batavia?
Yeah, so we had a committee of staff that selected it, of our librarians and our staff who, the focus this year was to try to pick something a little bit more mainstream, so that's how we picked the World War II books, are ever popular. Last year there was a science fiction read that was a great book and some people really enjoyed it, but it just didn't get as high of a participation as other years, so we wanted to kind of pick a more tried and true topic. We also were hoping to have been able to feature the author of Goodnight Irene, because he's from Naperville. Unfortunately, it was just a significant cost and difficulty in his availability. So that didn't work out, but I think it still ended up being a great selection of that. So yeah, it was a committee of staff.
I have one more comment to make too. With regard to Books Between Bites, next month the speakers are Linda Sullivan and myself, and we're going to be talking about the anxious generation, which I think is a must-read for everyone that has a phone or kids that are into technology or what have you. I just think it's a very, very factual, interesting book that as I said, I think everyone should read. So we'll be talking about that.
Yeah, I think that'll get a lot of people. That one has been on the high demand holds list and the bestseller list for like a year. Anytime a nonfiction book like that makes it onto those lists, you know people are getting a lot out of it because it tends to be a lot of word of mouth that is really pushing this, buzz. So I look forward to that, and thank you for bringing it to our community. I think they'll be interested.
Go ahead.
I didn't have anything
No,
to
that was
say.
me. I said, will there be a good old-fashioned phone bashing at this?
We plan to bring hammers that day so that everybody can smash their phones. Yeah, definitely. But I don't know. I just think anybody who has children or grandchildren or knows children should read this book.
I know it's in hot picks, but good luck.
And I just wanted to mention, the efficiency of getting the home delivery patrons their own library cards. It's kind of hard to appreciate the accounting of books, but I know how much easier that makes it for you and for them, and opens up new opportunities to place their own holds, so that's great.
Did the ability of getting a library card online contribute to that?
No, there were two separate efforts.
Okay, interesting.
It probably had similar things on the back end that you had to work on. Sherry'd be able to speak to that better than I could. But no, two separate initiatives that home delivery has grown significantly over the last couple years. So I think some of the things that worked really well when it was a small contingent of people being served, made sense at the time, and just as it grew, it was no longer sustainable. So we just were looking for ways to really have it be, as Daniel was saying, far more efficient for staff and help access for patrons, and just really modernize it. And so I think this will go a long way in that regard.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like I stand up here every month and say the same thing. Whew, it was a busy month. Each one more tiring than the last, in a good way. Well, we'll start from the youngest and kind of work our way up. Birth through preschool. I wanted to highlight toddler time this month. Miss Jolene has worked at the library for a number of years, and she is really our toddler expert. She is so wonderful with this age group, and she gets an enthusiastic crowd twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays are our registered time, and Thursdays are our drop-in, and it's always a bustling program. She does a wonderful story time with them. They make a craft together that kind of ties in with the theme of whatever books and rhymes she's chosen. And you can see some wonderful pictures of her interacting with some of her little friends. And I can tell you that I am no Miss Jolene. The few times I've subbed for her, boy, I forgot the hand stamp at the end, and boy, did I hear about it. But she does do a lovely job, and many of our young friends will come and play before story time or stay afterwards. So if you ever come down to youth services on a Monday morning and you hear the roar, you know it's toddler time. Moving on to the elementary age, Late Night at the Library is an annual event that we have held, and this is kind of a grades 3 to 5 after hours Friday night event. And this year we were very lucky to have the
wonderful talents of local magician Ken Mate. He showed the kids not only some magic, but then some of the secrets behind the magic, and some of the sleight of hand, which was very, very cool. And if you haven't heard of the game Ransom Notes, that is kind of like a big thing around the holidays. It was a big gift. It's basically magnetic words, and you put together what an answer to a prompt card that basically is along the lines of a ransom note. So it doesn't have to make sense. And in fact, the zanier it is, the more fun it is. You can imagine how much fun our middle graders had with that one. And then we also, of course, had snacks, because it's not an event without snacks. We also had a local brownie troop visit us at the end of March, and our school services librarian, Amy Marks, gave them a brief tour. And then she did what we call a book genre tasting. The leader is also a teacher, if I recall correctly, and she said the kids have a hard time understanding what book genres are. So like, what's a fantasy? What's a historical fiction book? How do I find those? And so Amy put together a really fun activity with them, and you can see in the pictures there, they're not only learning about it, but then they got to take a look at a bunch of different kinds of books and then rate them, because who doesn't want to rate something and say, yeah, thumbs up, or oh boy, this is a stinker, I would not want to waste my time on it. So they had a good time with it, and hopefully book genres are something they're a little more comfortable with now. Elementary Battle of the Books. I know you heard me talk last month about middle school Battle of the Books. The elementary Battle of the Books also took place, and this is another wonderful partnership with our local school district. So we had teams from each of our 6 elementary schools, and the kids read 8 titles and answered questions about them, so kind of a quiz bowl style event. And again, it's the school district's program. We are just the conduit in terms of being the host for it, so it was held here in our own founders room. And then our school services librarian, Amy Marks, was the MC, so she read the questions to the teams. And we had about 149 people in attendance, including the teams and the spectators. And boy, did those kids take that seriously, but they had a great time. Middle school programs, we had a very successful middle school murder mystery afternoon. This was based on a Nancy Drew kit, and it was a program that, if I'm being honest, we tried to run up the flagpole the previous quarter, and it bombed. Nobody signed up. So, you know, it just goes to show sometimes you have to try again, and this time we just picked the right day and time. Apparently it was a Saturday afternoon, and boy, they all filled up those spots. So anytime you can get middle schoolers to come into the library willingly for a program, that's a win right there.
Yeah.
Legos are perennially popular, kind of talking a little bit about all ages and family programming now. We offer a drop-in Lego challenge every month, and we have some prompt cards for that as well. So things like build the tallest tower you can that without it collapsing, things of that nature. And it's a great thing for kids and their grown-ups to come and do, pretty non-stressful, and then they absolutely love displaying their creations out in the department. So you can see a few pictures there from our display outside the programming room, and a lot of the kids just love to come in and look at them too. So it's kind of a walking advertisement for the program.
I'm hearing you. Could you repeat that?
Oh.
I sure could. I thought I was hearing voices for a second there. As Megan mentioned, this was the first year for youth services to have a selection as part of One Book, One Batavia. Our selection is Allies by Alan Gratz. If you haven't read it, I think it's a great grown-up read as well. It's a real page-turner, and his books are perennially popular with that kind of grades 4 to 8 age range. So we've got about half of ours have gone out. Again, since it's mostly like upper grade and middle school, they're a little harder to pull in, but we're working on it. And we do have some programs that are centered around World War II and families as well. So looking forward to that. And coming up as part of that, I've got to put in my plug, Wednesday, April 30th, so that is at the end of next month, we are going to have the Operation Support Our Troops Care Package Pack. I hope everyone knows that we have this kind of community event going on that's part of One Book, One Batavia this year. There's a list, and Also some collection boxes around town, including one in our lobby here at the library. Love to see some trustees come to that event. There's going to be an event that day from 3 to 5 and also from 5:30 to 8. And if you can't come, please bring some donations, or even better, come and bring donations. So mark your calendars for that. From Carton to Garden was a program, if I'm being honest, that kind of fell into our lap. There is a group of students from Illinois Math and Science Academy that reached out to us. They have done this program at other libraries, and they said, hey, we'd love to bring it to Batavia. And I said, hey, why not? So they did a really cute Carton to Garden program. We collected those cardboard egg cartons, and then they had fun filling them with dirt, planting some microgreens in them, and then the high school students talked about sustainability. And they also put together a wonderful scavenger hunt, which is our featured passive activity in youth services this month, all about sustainability. So our kids and their families have been learning about that. And there's some pictures there from Carton to Garden as well. Few other things, outreach, had a busy outreach month. HC Storm had a literacy night, and 2 folks from my department, Amy and Angie, went, and they had a great time. They had 180 people that they connected with at this event, so that's fantastic. You never know when you go to some of these things if you're, gonna just be one more thing that people walk past on their way to something they think is more exciting. But we brought a fun painting activity, and I think that really kind of resonated with folks. As was mentioned earlier, Amy Marks went to Mooseheart and read the first chapter of Allies to the students there. One of the things that we've been really lucky to be able to do is provide 10 copies of the book to the Mooseheart Library to get some of the students there to participate, because having that many books pulled out of their budget would be really hard. So they are reading right alongside us in that program too. And then just a couple of passive program highlights. I'm hoping everyone knows we have a display case down in youth services. It's been there for quite some time. Kids get a chance to sign up and bring their collections in and share them. It's hard to know who enjoys it more, the kids who are displaying the collections or the kids looking at the collections. Sometimes we have a little problem understanding that they can't buy things, that it's just to look at. But it's always a lot of fun, and the kids even make their own handwritten signs to explain that is who they are, their collection. So it's a lot of fun. If you've never looked at it, definitely take a look. And if you look very closely at that picture, you'll see a pair of scissors, and that was part of our March scavenger hunt. It was an arts and crafts theme, and the kids had to find different things that had to do with arts and crafts, and that was the super tricky one. They could not find those scissors for love or money. It's because they were way up in the air. We can be tricky like that. And then during the month, we had dramatic play, as we always do, and it was a veterinary clinic, and it's not shareable in a public forum, but if you want to know later, we can share with you some of the interesting things we hear from our young friends. Sometimes their parents are a little horrified come out of their mouths, but it's really fun, and we have a great time with that as well.
Do tell.
That's for closed session.
Yes, exactly. And we also had a tournament of books. We like to keep it simple for the kids, so it was book characters kind of facing off. Kids don't always understand brackets, so that was a little fun to explain to them. And in the end, it came down to Curious George and Pigeon, and though I love them both, much to my dismay, the Pigeon won. Curious George, I guess, is just too old. As Megan mentioned, we also are hard at work on Summer Reading Challenge, working with our local businesses to collect coupons and donations. We already talked a little bit about the fun new materials display. So if you get a chance, at some point, do come down and see us in youth services and check out that new display. We're pretty excited about it. And as Trustee Ford mentioned earlier, the Friends of the Library were very kind to us, as they so often are, and they provided some funding for a fun new wind tunnel that we're going to be using for some sensory and STEM programming. And we're also going to be purchasing some oversized lawn games that we hope to use this summer in the garden before the roofing project starts, and then on rainy days or when it's really hot outside, just out on the floor to have some fun. So, questions?
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. It's a lot of energy.
And the collaborations are amazing, and every one of those engaged kids is going to become a lifelong learner, I think. So great job. Thank you.
That is what we aim for, thank you.
All right. Can I, Joe, I got a question for you. What's the status for the roof project? Where are we on the schedule for bids, taking bids, opening bids, starting work?
Wednesday, next week?
We just confirmed the date for the pre-bid meeting. It's the 23rd. It's the 23rd.
That's not next Wednesday? Is that next week, Wednesday?
have it.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday, 10 a.m.
Yes.
Okay. And then bids are due a couple of weeks after that?
I have an old schedule because the dates
Yeah,
might have
we had
changed
that.
a little,
schedule
but the
at the
bids
count.
were originally due May 23rd.
Okay.
I don't know if that's changed.
Oh, right, we wanted to move it forward so we could open,
Yeah.
we could discuss the bids at the meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. I couldn't remember what that was, so.
Next week, our renovation task force, are we meeting? Well, I don't have my calendar in front of me. Is it the 21st, Monday, meeting to go over the,
Yes,
Yes.
1 o'clock.
what time?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
21st.
Yeah.
I wrote down 2. Would you confirm that? Let me know.
What's that?
I wrote down 2. Would you confirm that? Let me know. Or is that, you have that in your calendar?
Yes.
Okay, I'll change it. Thanks.
I
Yeah.
also wanted to mention that the state, this is not renovation related, but our statement of economic interests are all due by May 1st. And there are a few trustees who still need to do that. I'm in. So please, if you don't submit, it takes 5 minutes. If you don't do it, then we get charged $15 late fee, if you don't do it by May 1st. And if you need the information on, it should have been emailed directly to your email, your library email with your code on how you access it, et cetera. And it really is very fast, so please make sure you do that before May 1st.
Okay. Before we move on to adjourn to closed session, we're going to have just a small pop-up celebration. Jenny Collada has served 8 years on the board. And it's an amazing 8 years. Listen to this.
No, I got this. Hold on.
Do you want to go
Why don't
first?
you let him go first?
All right, it really is an amazing 8 years. In her time, the capital asset plan was developed, which has been so important for the board moving forward. There was a successful no rate change referendum. Jenny dealt with COVID, and I think the library has emerged stronger from that. All the literature you read, it says the #1 most important thing the board can do is select an executive director, and Jenny was involved in that. She's always prepared, she asks hard questions, she shares her knowledge, and one of the things I think of most is that you've made each of us a better board member by giving us financial education, report reading education, and I'll just end with, Jenny was also involved with the strategic plan. So that's quite an accomplishment in 8 years.
Thank you. Well, thanks. I did prepare a few too, and I have a couple extras to add to
Questions before I
It really has been a privilege to serve alongside you guys. Your dedication to this community is by far higher than mine, so I'm just really privileged to be a part of this board. I think one of my greatest honors is to know that I'm leaving the library in a better place than it was 8 years ago. And not that it was in a bad place. It was not in a bad place 8 years ago. But as Daniel mentioned, 8 years ago, we still had debt on the building. It was the new building, and it still is the new building. but we had debt on that building. And we successfully paid off that debt and then passed a very pivotal referendum that allowed us financial stability to move into the next generation. Without that referendum and that financial stability, we wouldn't have been able to do these renovations, and we wouldn't have been able to not only budget for a very sizable transfer to the special reserve each year, but far exceed that each and every year for the past 8 years. So Don mentioned earlier, we are probably going to be able to move around $1.3 million this June 30th to the special reserves. We've moved far over $6 million over the past 8 years into that special reserves. And so it really has been a very great use of the community's property tax funds, the use of all of those programs and funding that Daniel was talking about with Alexa Janulius from the state. And it really has been a very difficult year to make some really hard, or difficult time to make some really hard decisions on what we can and what we can't afford. We did also go through the pandemic, but in addition to that, the state of Illinois passed a very significant compensation laws changes with the minimum wages. So we revamped the entire compensation for all of the staff here to not only make sure that they were compliant with the Minimum Wage Act, but also that they were getting fairly compensated for the fantastic work that they do here. And so that was a fun process to go through. And then hiring Joe, I mean, honestly, it was the greatest thing that you said yes to coming here, because you are going to take us into the next generation, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. Now, as your treasurer for one last meeting, I would be remiss to not acknowledge the importance of a future prudent financial stewardship. We are looking at significant opportunities to grow, innovate, and really follow through with the strategic plan that we've all put a lot of effort into. All fantastic outreach and great programs, but balancing those desires and wants and needs with careful financial planning is going to be really, really important. And I have all the confidence in the world that this group of people can do that, but I just would be remiss if I didn't say that out loud. So thank you for letting me serve. The library does hold a very special place in my heart, and I'm sure it will continue to grow and strengthen into the future. Sorry. Thank you.
Put the bag, there's two things, and one's more flat, yeah.
This one first?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. In recognition of loyal dedicated service as a member and officer of the Board of Trustees, Jennifer Collada, Batavia Public Library, May 7, 2017 to May 2025. Knowledge for the City of Energy. Thank you so much. Very good. Yay! Thank you very much. And Christy was very nice and gave me a nice journal and book, as well as some bookmarks and a nice fun necklace. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us all your knowledge,
Oh.
or some of your knowledge, and for prodding us to continually be fiscally responsible.
Yes. Absolutely. I'm excited to see the renovation.
Yeah, we are too.
Well, with that, we will need to adjourn to closed session. We will not be taking action after closed session, so anyone who would like to leave is welcome to leave.
Can I go?
Almost anyone. So I'll make the motion to adjourn to closed session.
Second?
Second, so a motion by trustee Russo and a second by trustee Fasano, and just a roll call, or do we need a roll call?
No, we don't need a roll call.
All in favor?
Oh, we do need a roll
Yes,
call,
you do.
sorry, we need a roll call for closed
Yeah.
session, sorry.
So, Mary Ann, would you call the roll?
Gallotta?
Aye.
Peachman?
Aye.
Ford? Hubbard? Larson?
Aye.
Russo?
Aye.
Casano? Aye.
With that, we are adjourned to closed session and we'll start in a couple.